Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another video on the channel. This video is going to be the January 2023 Social Studies Paper 3 paper. All right, so I'm going to do this in two parts. So this is part one, where I'm going to answer the first 4 questions, and then part 2 will come a little bit later, where I will answer the options question on consumer affairs, communication, and tourism. So this now we will be answering questions 1 to 4. All right, these are suggested answers. You can work with the answers that I give, or you can also come up with answers on your own. That would be awesome also. All right, define the term alimony. All right, so alimony is payment due to a spouse by the other spouse by court order after a divorce. So that one is pretty easy. All right, so 1B now says one function of the family is to provide emotional and psychological support for its members, outlining 3 other functions of the family. So once a question says anything outside of list, then you will use a complete sentence to actually answer your questions. Your answer is determined by the amount of marks for each question. So this now says outline one function of a family, 2 functions, 3 other functions of the family other than emotional and psychological support. So it's 6 marks total. So that means it's 2 marks for each answer. So you need a sentence or 2. That should be good enough. So one function of the family other than emotional and psychological support is procreation. This is having babies for the continuation of the human race. Right? Another function of the family is socialization. This is teaching its members how to function in society and to become good citizens. Another function of the family is an economic unit. This is providing for the basic needs of each members, which usually involves the provision of money. Very good. So far, so good. Question CI now says, such as 3 strategies that parents may use to encourage children to undertake responsibilities in the home. That is 6 marks. And then now you're going to explain why each of the strategy suggested in CI is likely to be successful. This is where a lot of students fall down and actually lose marks. So they will give the suggestion, but don't give any justification, or they will give the suggestion and the justification in one and leave the explanation blank. No, you are to state your strategy. So clearly outline your strategy, then offer an explanation to justify why your strategy is going to be successful. So for one strategy to encourage children to undertake responsibilities in the home is actually paying the children to complete chores or giving them a weekly allowance, right? The parent and the child may decide on the amount, or the parent, him or herself or themselves, can decide on the amount and what they will be paid for. This explanation now, this is likely to be successful because the kids will be extrinsically motivated to actually complete the chores, because they know that at the end of completing the chores, whether it's daily, weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, they will be getting a reward, something of monetary value, or it may not be monetary value, but it might be something that is tangible. They might be getting a gift or a special privilege, and they are going to be more willing to complete that chore because of the reward. Another strategy could be to ensure that the work is equally distributed. What parents can do is have a chore jar, right? Something like that would be successful. Having a chore jar is that all the members in the house would actually have a specific chore that they do. So the parent ensure that the work is equally distributed and no one sibling is being pressured to complete all the chores. Or they can have the jar where siblings actually go and pick something. So every day or every week, it's something different that they do. So it's actually spread around. So that's why it will be successful, because children love to look at things and say, why am I the one doing all the work or doing most of the work? Or why do I have to wash the plate all the time? Why do I have to sweep the yard all the time? So the chores are actually shared and spread out evenly. right? Another strategy is to have a sit down with the children and explain to them how important completing chores are and how important it is to give them responsibilities, because responsibilities create responsible adults. This is likely to be successful because when students, sorry, why I keep saying students, when children understand the importance of undertaking responsibilities in the home and how it can benefit them as an adult, they'll be more likely, they'll be more inclined to complete these chores because they would want to become responsible adults in the future. So those are 3 very good strategies. All right. Question 2A now, 2AI, laws, folkways, and mores are types of norms. So the first question says, define mores. Mores are forms of norms concerning serious matters and reflecting a society's moral values. Now, 2II, students are taught to raise their hand to request permission to speak. State 2 other folkways that can still be found in the Caribbean. You that are listening now, you tell me one. Another folkway, or you can type it in the comment section. Yes, that one is pretty good. Thank you. Yes, that one is also very good. So other than raising of hands to get the permission to speak, saying good morning, that is also a folkway, you know, especially children saying this to adults or people in general saying this to each other, right? The shaking of hands as a form of greeting is a folkway. A hug is a form of greeting. Saying please and thank you, excuse me, those are forms of folkways. Understand? Very good. Now, question I says, explain one difference between a law and a folkway. All right. So folkway, let's define both of them first, and then we're going to state a difference. So a folkway is an informal behavior developed among a group of people over time. Laws are systems of rules recognized by a country as regulating the actions of citizens, which may be enforced by the imposition of penalty. So folkways are developed by a group of people that regulate them locally and was developed over time. But laws are national rules and there are national penalties or consequences if you actually break these laws. While folkways, if you actually break them, it's very localized. There might be penalties, but they are very localized. All right. Explain one difference between the role of a legislature and that of the judiciary. So the legislature actually creates laws while the judiciary interprets laws that are already created and on the books or in the constitution. That's one difference. CI now said suggest 3 actions the government in your country may take to improve citizens' obedience to law and order. Explain why each action suggested in CI is likely to be successful. Again, so you're going to state each of your actions. So after you state action 1, then you give the justification at explanation 1. So one way in which the country might improve citizens' obedience to law and order is have a public education campaign. Even though they say that ignorance is no excuse, but people need to understand what the laws are, know what the laws are, so they don't find themselves breaching the laws or breaking the laws. If persons are aware, then they are less likely to actually break the laws because they know that there will be consequences if they actually break them. Another thing is that these laws need to be taught in schools. So law teaching should be a part of the curriculum. So every single individual that went to school in the country actually knows the laws. This is likely to be successful because if this can be a part of the curriculum, say from basic school, also in primary school, high school, and even some university courses, then it's more than likely that everybody who passed through the school system or some parts of the school system would be exposed to some, if not all, of the laws in the country, so they can become aware again and less likely to break them. Another strategy is to have enforcement of these laws. This is likely to be successful because if the laws are being enforced, right? If you actually break them, people will be aware that there will be penalties, there will be consequences. So they'll be less likely to break them because they know that if I commit this crime, if I break this particular law, then this might reach me. This penalty might reach me. If people know that there are no consequences, then they are likely to break the law because they know that they can get away with it. But if they know that they can't get away and they will be prosecuted, then they will think twice before actually breaking a law. Question 3A now says, define the term population density. All right. So population density now is the average amount of people living in a particular area at a particular time. That is what population density. Now, BI says state 2 factors that affect population density of a country. All right. You tell me now some factors that you think can affect population density. Remember, it's the average amount of people, you know. Factors include the climate in the particular area. If the area is a developed area, things like if the area is swampy, if the land is flat, if the land is mountainous, probably things like crime can also influence population density, and so on and so forth. All right, now explain how each of the factors stated influence the population density of the area. All right, let's look at climate. Climate can influence the population density of an area because if the area is too cold, then people will be less likely to want to go there to live because not everybody can manage a cold climate. Same thing in the reverse if the area is hot. Understand? If the area is developed, then more persons are more than likely want to go there to live because they have job opportunities, probably better schooling, better infrastructure like roads, bridges, hospitals, clinics, and so on and so forth. If the area is not developed, then it's the reverse. People more than likely will not want to go there to live because there won't be a lot of opportunities. So you get the gist, so you can follow with the rest of the suggestions that I would have given earlier. All right, so I'm just going to skip this page because it's the same thing. So they actually copied that page twice and inserted it in there. All right, you see now, you have acquired some farmland from your parents and plan to grow crops on this land. I said suggest 3 farming practices that you may adopt to promote soil conservation. Then I know says explain how each of the practices suggested is likely to be successful in conserving the soil. All right, 3 farming practices to promote soil conservation. All right. So what do you think are some of the practices? All right, so techniques such as plowing, following the contours of a hill to help conserve water and protect topsoil. That is one. Another one is regularly adding organic matter to the soil. This maintains the levels of plant nutrients and improves soil condition. All right, so if contour plowing is done, then it regulates the water that is actually there. And you can actually Google contour planting. I'm sorry, I never had a picture to show you, right? So you can see how it is done, almost like a sea turned sideways, right? So if you're watering the land because it's contour, it actually hold the topsoil and prevents it from running off. So that would be effective in conserving soil. All right. Adding nutrients is also important because it ensures that the farmer will have a great yield because the soil is nutrient rich. All right, the other practice, I'm going to allow you to come up with that one on your own and you can post it in the comment section. Just label it by saying farming practices that will promote soil conservation, and I will tell you if your answer is actually correct. I will tell you that in the comment section. So put the third suggestion in the comment section. All right, so we are now up to the dreaded regional integration section. So many persons are afraid of regional integration, and I can understand why, because it is content heavy. But the key to actually acing a regional integration question is actually reading. So read as much as you can on regional integration, and it will be beneficial because the area is so wide. So read as much as possible. All right. Also, write answering only what you are being asked. Some students will write giving a thesis statement, giving an introduction, giving a conclusion. No, that is not necessary. Even if a teacher tell you to do that, for me, I tell my students that is not necessary because CXC will only mark what they ask you. So if your teacher tell you that, right, you know, to give a thesis statement to ensure that your points are well stated and your conclusion tying up everything, if you want to, that's okay. But I tell my students not to actually do that because they're not getting any marks for that. They're getting marks for what is being asked. So I tell them answer what is being asked. So you're going to answer in essay format. However, you are going to indent answering each new point. So you write a little away from the margin, answering each point, but don't skip any line, don't leave any space. All right, so it says write an essay on the topic above. That is embracing regional integration, overcoming challenges. So the first thing that you are being asked to do is to define the term economic integration. So you will start by saying economic integration is an agreement between countries that usually include the elimination of trade barriers and aligning monetary and fiscal policies, leading to a more interconnected global economy. All right, so economic integration is actually dismantling trade barriers, right? So that countries who are part of the agreement are likely to survive in terms of exports. Good. Now, state two challenges other than small size and vulnerability to natural disasters facing Caribbean countries. So you are going to actually look at this to zero in on what they're asking. They're saying, all right, other than small size and vulnerability to natural disasters, state two other challenges. So two other challenges would be the debt burden that regional integrations currently carry, and also a shortage of capital to actually start up businesses. Those are two other challenges. All right. And you can explain a little bit. I'll say give a sentence or two because it said state. So we're not going to list. We don't want to fall into that. So a list. So we can say the borrowings that put countries into debt, right? They have to be repaid, and this is known as a country's debt burden. A country's debt burden is often expressed as a percentage of the market value of all goods and services, known as the gross domestic product or GDP, that you would have been hearing a lot of times. A debt is classified as sustainable as long as a debtor country is able to meet its current and future debt obligation, right? So that might be a problem because some countries may not be able to meet their payment for their debt burden, and then sometimes they are not producing as much, so it causes a challenge. Good. Another thing is a lack or a shortage of capital. Entrepreneurs and businesses need capital investment if they are to establish new businesses or expand existing operations. The small economy of Caribbean nations generally means that there are severe restrictions on the availability of public and private capital. So this investment is not available locally. So that presents a challenge. When capital is obtained from external sources, right, it can result in increased foreign debt or simply lead to an increase in foreign owned companies. And then when a lot of foreigners own the companies, then these countries suffer from economic leakage. Because if they, for example, Jamaica, where I live, so if a Spanish businessman come here, open a hotel, right? When he makes the money in Jamaica, a lot of that money doesn't stay in Jamaica. It is sent back to Spain, where he is from. So that money is not, sent into the economy where the government can collect people, get greater spending money and put in infrastructure and so on. No, it is sent to Spain. So we consider that to be economic leakage. Understand? Next part of the question now says outline one way in which size and one way in which vulnerability to natural diseases can affect the development of the region. All right, so let's look at size. Small nations have particular challenges when it comes to providing for all the functions of government, pursuing continued development of the country and improvements in standard of living and quality of life. Small nations struggle to compete in markets that are increasingly open as a result of globalization. Their small size means that business and economic expansion is not easy, and so they cannot benefit from economies of scale. All right, so you have to actually research what economies of scale are. All right, let's look at their vulnerability now to natural disasters. All right, the region faces challenges because it is susceptible to a range of natural disasters caused by extreme weather conditions, such as, hurricanes, droughts, because you know that we are faced with those a lot in the Caribbean region, and other phenomena such as volcanic eruptions, right? That happens in Montserrat, earthquakes and landslides. All of these have devastating effects on societies and their economies. There are losses to business and a drop in productivity. And at the same time, there is an increased need for expenditure to repair the damage, rebuild infrastructure, and to enable people to return to work. So we know that when regional countries are faced with natural disasters, it takes a lot of money to actually rebuild, and then businesses lose money during the time of the disaster and the recovery period as well. So natural disasters can be devastating to regional economies. All right. Next part of the question now says suggest 3 actions that governments may take to improve regional integration. Then now you're going to explain how each action might help to overcome the challenges facing the region. All right. So you're going to state or suggest 3 actions that governments may take to improve regional integration, and then explain how each action might help to overcome the challenges facing the region. They weren't specific in what challenges, but name a challenge when you're giving your justification. Just to be on the safe side, I would suggest that you name a challenge. They didn't say you have to, but just to be on the safe side, to actually zero in on what you are writing about, to make sense of what you are writing about, name an actual challenge, Yeah, that was politically correct first. All right, improving regional integration. What do you think can be done to actually improve regional integration? You think and tell. What do you think can actually be done to improve regional integration? All right. So the citizens now are the biggest factor that can help to improve regional integration. One way this can be done is through entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur, as we know, is a person who has an idea for a new business venture or enterprise and who accepts responsibility for launching, running, and developing that business. Entrepreneurs hope to improve an income for themselves and also to build up their business to create employment opportunities for other people. Individuals in the Caribbean now who have the skills, attitudes, and personality to become entrepreneurs need to be encouraged to do so in order to stimulate local and regional economies. This is likely to be successful because if people become business minded, right, and start businesses, then know that it's going to increase employment and reduce the unemployment levels, not only in their home country, but also within the region. Because remember that one of the actual objectives of regional integration or the benefits is free movement of people. So I can stay in Jamaica and apply for a job in Barbados as long as I'm qualified, then I'm willing and able and be given the opportunity to go there and work. All right. Entrepreneurship also provides more income for these business people because the entire region is seen as a common market. And remember, Economic integration seeks to reduce trade barriers so we can trade with each other freely for a small amount of money or no money at all to actually export our goods. Following so far? All right. Another action is to support regional producers. All citizens of the region can contribute by choosing to support local producers. For example, this would mean choosing to buy a commodity from a local producer rather than from an overseas producer. All right. So people need to start looking at the labels of things that they are buying and start supporting more local or regional producers instead of international producers. All right. This is likely to be successful or help to overcome the challenge facing regional integration is that if we buy local or regional, it means that we are supporting those local and regional businesses. When we buy from them, they make more money, right? The more money they make, their production cost goes down because they can produce more now to fulfill the need. They also create more employment, reduce high unemployment levels, and then to reduce the challenges are one of the challenges of globalization, where we have to be fighting to compete in international markets. We now have a common market where there's a almost guaranteed sale for your product or service, right? Another way in which the government, can take to improve regional integration is encourage people to become informed. Citizens have a responsibility to be aware of the issues associated with integration in relation to their country and in the region. An example of this awareness would be when citizens understand the importance of buying products from local or regional suppliers, because a lot of people don't know that it is important to support local and regional business, because this helps to promote regional integration, right? Because people will be more inclined to produce and sell locally and also export regionally because there's a market. This is going to be successful because people are going to be supporting local and those businesses will achieve more. All right. So that's it for now. If you have any questions or concerns, leave them in the chat and I will answer them. Thank you for watching. I was recording a video, my ear, but I was recording a video.